at least two playing Russian roulette with people's lives, pushing pills that were disguised as the prescription painkiller oxycodone.
But first, we are breaking news out of the capital city. 13 people are charged, 11 are in custody after a 6-month investigation into drug trafficking.
Officials say 2 more people are expected to be arrested shortly. These arrests were the results of multiple early morning raids. Only our cameras were recording this morning as these raids took dangerous drugs and guns off the street.
Thank you, President Trump, and thank you for your leadership. And this is all about collaboration. And around this table, I'm looking around this table, we all work so well together. I don't think another administration in our nation's history has worked so well together. We talk constantly, Secretary Noem, Tulsi, Pete, constantly.
The FBI just arrested 45 people connected to CloudVault, a cloud storage company that claimed to serve 890,000 business customers worldwide. But federal agents discovered the truth: 70% of those customers didn't exist. For 5 years, the Sinaloa cartel used fake companies to purchase non-existent data storage services, laundering $2.4 billion in drug proceeds through monthly subscription fees, enterprise contracts, and data transfer charges. Banks saw legitimate tech company revenue. Investors saw a unicorn startup valued at $3.8 billion there. The IRS saw nothing suspicious. But it was all fake. A money laundering operation disguised as cloud computing. This is how the cartel turned data storage into a washing machine for billions in blood money. The pitch deck was flawless. CloudVault promised enterprise-grade cloud storage with military encryption at consumer prices. The company's website showcased testimonials from satisfied customers, case studies demonstrating cost savings, and security certifications from recognized auditing firms. In 2024, CloudVault was valued at $3.8 billion. It employed 340 people at offices in Seattle, Austin, and London. It claimed 890,000 business customers, storing over 47 petabytes of data across its global server infrastructure. Industry analysts projected the company would go public within 18 months, with an estimated IPO valuation exceeding $6 billion. But on a Tuesday morning in October 2025, FBI agents raided CloudVault's Seattle headquarters and the entire facade collapsed. There were no 890,000 customers. There were no 47 petabytes of data. There was barely any legitimate business at all. CloudVault was a money laundering operation, a sophisticated front created by the Sinaloa cartel to wash $2.4 billion in drug proceeds through fake technology services that looked exactly like the legitimate cloud computing industry. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced the arrests alongside FBI Director Christopher Wray and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. CloudVault represented a new frontier in money laundering, Garland stated. The Sinaloa cartel created a technology company that appeared completely legitimate. It had real employees, real investors, real offices, and real revenue. But behind the professional website and polished presentations was a criminal enterprise that used the complexity of the cloud computing industry to launder billions in drug money. The investigation, codenamed Operation Phantom Cloud, revealed how the cartel had evolved beyond traditional laundering methods. Instead of using cash-intensive businesses like restaurants or laundromats, they'd created a business model perfectly suited for the digital economy, one where massive monthly payments, complex pricing structures, and international transactions are completely normal. Here's how the operation worked. In 2019, Sinaloa cartel leadership identified cloud storage as the perfect laundering vehicle. The industry was booming, with businesses spending billions annually on data storage, backup services, and cloud infrastructure. Pricing was complex and opaque. Customers paid based on storage capacity, data transfer, redundancy options, and performance tiers. A small business might pay $200 per month. An enterprise might pay $500,000 monthly. And because data storage is intangible, you can't see, touch, or count bytes the way you can count physical inventory, it was nearly impossible to verify whether services were actually being provided. The cartel established CloudVault as a Delaware corporation using a network of shell companies registered in the Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, and Luxembourg. They hired Marcus Reeves, a legitimate technology executive with experience at Microsoft and Dropbox, to serve as CEO. According to prosecutors, Reeves knew the company was a front. He was recruited specifically because of his tech industry credibility and was paid $8 million annually plus equity. Under Reeves's leadership, CloudVault built a real company with real infrastructure. They leased data center space in Virginia, Oregon, and Ireland. They hired software engineers, sales staff, customer service representatives, and marketing professionals. They built a functioning cloud storage platform that actually worked. They even acquired some legitimate customers, approximately 30,000 real businesses that used CloudVault for actual data storage. This was the genius of the scheme. CloudVault was a real company providing real services, but buried within its customer base were 860,000 fake companies, shell corporations created by the cartel specifically to purchase CloudVault services that didn't actually exist. But here's the critical element. CloudVault wasn't actually providing services to most of these customers. The fake companies would create accounts, upload minimal data, sometimes just a few gigabytes to make the account appear active, and then pay enormous monthly fees supposedly for massive storage capacity and premium features. CloudVault's systems would show these customers as active, but the actual storage usage was negligible. The cartel then extracted the laundered money through several methods. CloudVault paid massive consulting fees to other shell companies for business development and technical advisory services. They paid inflated salaries to phantom employees whose paychecks went to cartel operatives. They made strategic investments in other cartel-controlled businesses. They paid licensing fees to offshore entities for proprietary technology that didn't exist. Each extraction method had contracts, invoices, and documentation that made it appear legitimate. The FBI's investigation began in March 2023 when FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, detected unusual patterns in CloudVault's financial activity. The company was receiving an enormous volume of wire transfers from businesses that didn't match typical cloud storage customer profiles. The Treasury Department referred the case to the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Special agents began investigating CloudVault's customer base and discovered the massive fraud. Working with IRS Criminal Investigation, they analyzed CloudVault's 890,000 claimed customers and found that approximately 860,000 were either completely fictitious or had no legitimate business purpose for the services they were purchasing. On the morning of the raids, FBI agents executed search warrants at CloudVault's 3 office locations, the homes of 17 executives and employees, and 23 locations associated with shell companies used in the scheme. They arrested 45 individuals, including CEO Marcus Reeves, CFO Jennifer Walsh, 6 other executives, 14 sales and account management employees who knowingly created fake customer accounts, and 23 cartel operatives who ran the shell company network. The seized evidence filled multiple FBI field offices. Agents recovered servers containing the entire CloudVault database, financial records showing $2.4 billion in transactions, spreadsheets listing the 860,000 fake customers, and email communications between executives discussing the laundering operation. They also seized $340 million in bank accounts, commercial real estate purchased with laundered funds, and luxury assets, including yachts, aircraft, and high-end vehicles. The 30,000 legitimate CloudVault customers faced an immediate crisis. The FBI's seizure of the company meant their data was now in government custody. The FBI worked with Microsoft Azure and Amazon Web Services to migrate legitimate customer data to secure platforms. But the process took weeks, leaving businesses scrambling to access critical files. The venture capital firms that had invested $340 million were victims of fraud. Their investments were worthless. CloudVault's valuation had been based entirely on fake metrics. Sequoia Capital released a statement acknowledging they'd been deceived and announcing a comprehensive review of their due diligence processes. Other VC firms faced investor lawsuits claiming negligence in failing to detect the fraud. Federal prosecutors charged the defendants with conspiracy to commit money laundering, wire fraud, bank fraud, securities fraud, and operating a continuing criminal enterprise. The charges carry sentences ranging from 20 years to life in prison. Marcus Reeves faces additional charges of making false statements to investors and federal regulators. The evidence against Reeves was overwhelming. FBI agents found emails where he discussed expanding the ghost customer base, the fake companies used for laundering. They found spreadsheets tracking how much money needed to be laundered each quarter and which shell companies would be used. They found wire transfer records showing $8 million in salary payments plus $23 million in bonuses tied to laundering volume. During his interrogation, Reeves admitted he'd known CloudVault was a cartel operation from the beginning. He claimed he'd been recruited by individuals he believed were legitimate investors, but later realized were cartel representatives. He said he continued because they threatened his family and because the money was too substantial to walk away from. Prosecutors dismissed his claims as self-serving lies designed to reduce his sentence. CFO Jennifer Walsh cooperated with investigators, providing detailed testimony about the financial mechanics of the scheme. She explained how CloudVault had created an entire accounting system designed to make laundered money appear as legitimate revenue. She described meetings with cartel representatives who would specify how much money needed to be processed each month and which shell companies would be used. Her cooperation earned her a reduced sentence of 12 years instead of the 40 she faced. The cartel operatives who orchestrated the scheme remain largely beyond reach, operating from Mexico and Central America. The FBI identified the Sinaloa cartel cell responsible, a financial operations unit led by a lieutenant known as El Contador, the accountant. International arrest warrants have been issued, but extradition is unlikely. The CloudVault case exposed critical vulnerabilities in the technology sector's susceptibility to money laundering. Unlike traditional businesses that can be physically inspected, cloud services are entirely virtual. There's no inventory to count, no physical product to examine. A company can claim to be storing petabytes of data, and verifying that claim requires technical expertise and access that regulators often lack. The case also revealed how venture capital due diligence failed catastrophically. The VC firms had invested hundreds of millions based on customer metrics and revenue figures they never independently verified. They'd accepted CloudVault's representations at face value, trusting that the Big Four accounting audit meant the numbers were accurate. They'd failed to investigate whether the customers were real businesses with legitimate needs for massive data storage. Congress held emergency hearings. The Senate Banking Committee called FinCEN Director Andrea Gacki, FBI Director Wray, and SEC Chair Gary Gensler to testify. Senator Elizabeth Warren demanded action. If cartels can create a fake tech company, get it valued at billions of dollars, and launder drug money through it for 5 years before anyone notices, our financial oversight system has failed. We need mandatory verification of customer bases for companies seeking investment. We need real-time monitoring of suspicious payment patterns. We need accountability. The Treasury Department announced new FinCEN guidance requiring enhanced due diligence for technology companies receiving large volumes of international wire transfers. The SEC proposed rules requiring venture-backed companies to provide third-party verification of customer metrics before raising capital. The proposals face significant pushback from the technology and venture capital industries, which argue the regulations would stifle innovation and impose unreasonable compliance costs. But the families of overdose victims see it differently. The $2.1 billion that CloudVault laundered represented drug proceeds, money generated from fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine that killed Americans. The DEA estimates that the volume of narcotics required to generate $2.1 billion in profit would represent approximately 14,000 kilograms of fentanyl and 35,000 kilograms of methamphetamine sold on American streets. The human cost of that laundered money, conservatively estimated at 8,000 American deaths from overdoses. Every dollar laundered was a dollar earned from addiction and death, said DEA Administrator Milgram at a joint press conference with the FBI. CloudVault didn't just launder money, they laundered the proceeds of mass death. And they did it while wearing suits, attending tech conferences, and being celebrated as innovators. That's the new face of the drug trade. It doesn't always look like a cartel. Sometimes it looks like a startup. The CloudVault servers, now in FBI custody, have become a treasure trove of intelligence. Forensic analysts are working through terabytes of data, identifying the shell companies, tracing money flows, and mapping the cartel's financial network. They've found evidence linking CloudVault to other potential front companies in industries ranging from cryptocurrency exchanges to real estate investment trusts. The question that haunts investigators: if they could do this with cloud storage, what other sectors have they infiltrated? How many other unicorn startups with impressive growth metrics are actually cartel money laundering operations hiding behind the complexity of modern technology? For the 30,000 legitimate CloudVault customers who lost access to their data during the FBI seizure, the lesson is harsh. In the cloud computing era, your business data might be stored on servers controlled by a drug cartel, and you'd never know until federal agents raid the company. And for investors who lost $340 million betting on a fake unicorn, the message is equally clear. In an industry where success is measured in metrics that can be fabricated and revenue that can be faked, trust must be earned through verification, not taken on faith. The Sinaloa cartel proved that in the digital economy, the best place to hide billions in blood money isn't in offshore accounts or cash businesses, it's in the cloud, disguised as innovation, protected by complexity, and validated by investors too eager to believe the next big thing is legitimate. Sometimes the unicorn isn't real. Sometimes it's just a very expensive illusion created by the world's most sophisticated criminals.